So without further ado, it now gives me great pleasure to introduce your candidates for ASI President. From the Jack Brown College of Business and Public Administration, Adonis Toledo. From the College of Natural Sciences, Prince Ogigwe. From the College of Arts and Letters, Melissa Patton. And from the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences, AJ Vasquez. We do have another candidate running for office. She's unable to be here with us today. From the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences, Yusra Sirhan. All right, candidates, are you ready? Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with a really important issue that's taking place right now. So as you may be aware, there are talks for actually, no, introductions. I completely forgot. See, I just get excited about this. All right, so we're going to do 2-minute introductions. We'll go ahead and start with Mr. Vasquez.
Hello. Hi, guys. My name is AJ Vasquez. I am a third-year political science major here on campus, and I do want to be your ASI president. I do have some a little background about myself first. I did work in ASI for about a year in the Cosmic Clinic. I have about 3 internships with a law firm. I worked at Superior Court of San Bernardino. I worked with I live in Temecula. I worked at the City Hall there for about a year. I just got done working at a law firm, real estate and intellectual property, which I want to do as a living. But some pressing issues that I do have that I want to get across to students. I went to students all around and spoke to them when I was trying to get my name out there for my campaign and wanted to see exactly what they wanted. A lot of the biggest things that I saw was that they didn't even know who this year's president was, their VP was, and that's one of the biggest things I want to change. I want people to know exactly who I am. If I'm going to be your president, then I want to make sure that you know who I am. If I'm working for you, I want to know what your issues are. For that reason, I want to have more open forums. Yeah, because I noticed that the open forums that we have right now for the board of directors would be like just one day for the quarter, one college, something like that, and it'd be like on a Wednesday. And then people that go on school on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they don't even know like what's going on. They wouldn't even be able to go over there and see it. So I want to do that. One of the other things I want to change as well, have more major classes available. I noticed a lot of you guys, a lot of biggest complaints was I have to stay an extra 2 quarters because I can't get another major class. I can't do this, I can't do that, I have to spend more money. So I want to change that. I want to make more classes available, lower parking permits, and increase as well parking. Because I noticed that you guys pay $114 for a parking permit, but you can't park anywhere. You really can't. Like you spend 20 minutes to get to class and you're really late. So that's one of the biggest issues I want to change. Thank you very much. My name is AJ Vasquez again. I'm running for your ASI.
How's everybody doing? Good afternoon. My name is Prince Ogigwe. I am a senior here at Cal State San Bernardino. I currently serve in my role as ASI's Executive Vice President. I just want to thank you all for coming out here. This year has been very, very amazing. In not just my growth as a student, but also becoming a man. A little bit about myself. I am from Nigeria. I moved here 8 years ago. February 28th makes it 8 years, so I'm very, very happy to be here. Cal State San Bernardino has been like my family, my everything. It's seen me grow from a little boy, 15 years old, to now almost turning 20. And so I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to even be here. A few things that I want to work on. I want to see that transparency is to a maximum at this campus. There is a lot of there is a lot of money, student fees that go into a lot of things that we work on. So I would like for a place where we can easily tell our students that this is where your money is going, this is where everything is. Also, another issue is the campus security. The events of January 10th they did not sit very right with me. It was scary. We didn't know what was happening, and so a lot of that stuff comes from working on campus security and ensuring that our students are safe and that communication lines are clear. And I would also like to bring in inclusivity is something that sits in very deep with me. I'm as diverse as they come, as I am also an immigrant in this great nation. So another thing, so how I plan on inclusivity. So there is some groups that they literally don't get any support from us. Our student athletes, we barely get anybody to go out to games to support them, and they bring in a lot for this university. So, and that including also visibility. ASI can grow, and ASI will grow. ASI is more visible this year than it was previous years. And so more and more, we're going to keep working and ensuring that ASI grows. Thank you very much for coming out here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa Patton, and I'm ready to be your next ASI president. A little bit about myself. I've had the great pleasure of serving you all for the past 3 years. 2 years as your student advocate, so I got to set up campus-wide committees, form relationships with the deans, form relationships with the vice presidents, with department heads. And then for the last year, I've had the honor of serving you as your director of external affairs. So having the opportunity to advocate for you all at Sacramento, up in DC, I get to go back to Sacramento again, talking about DACA legislation, talking about tuition, mental health services, food and housing insecurity with our representatives that can really enact the legislation to help us. So about some reasons why I'm running, I have 4. The first being student safety, the second being advocacy and inclusion. I also want to work on transparency and community outreach. So with student safety, the events of January 10th were horrible for our campus. Our students, you are our #1 priority. You should never come to campus feeling unsafe. So if elected ASI president, I intend to work with our campus administration, our university police department, meet with them on a monthly basis, see what steps are being taken to increase our student safety. For advocacy and inclusion, I've had the opportunity to create relationships for the last 3 years, both on campus and outside of campus, to bring best practices onto campus. And then also, in the past, I've noticed that ASI can be seen as very exclusive. So I want to work on having union hours, having our executives out in the union, out in the centers, talking with our students. I want to work on creating committees where our student athletes have the opportunity to sit on them, as well as our Greek letter organizations, our academic clubs, our multicultural clubs. For transparency, I think you all should be able to see our budget. I think you all should know where your money is going to, what exactly it's going to, and what are we doing to help serve you. And lastly, community outreach. We want to make sure we're bringing the best opportunities onto our campus for you all. We want to make sure that we're bringing another concert back for you all. We want to make sure we're bringing more scholarships onto campus, more internships, so that you all can continue to pursue your dreams. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alanis Toledo, and I'm the 3rd year with a major in public administration. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about myself and a little work that I've done. As a leader, I've been a leader, a community leader, ever since I was in high school, starting off the sophomore year, right? I was part of a nonprofit called Raíces Cultura, and there I was a spokesperson and representative for this organization called Young Boys and Men of Color, right? And in that organization, we focused on issues that young men of color, minorities were facing all across the regions of California, right? So for a weekend, I went out to the state capitol for 2 years and advocated for minority rights, educational rights that would dismantle the school-to-prison pipeline. I advocated for renewable energy and stuff that affects minorities as a whole, right? Because if you guys think about it, who has the polluted air? Who breathes the polluted air? Mostly minority communities, right? Sorry about that. I'm a little nervous, but we'll get through it, right? So, and from that, I went on and brought all that work to college, right? Not only have I served in different committees here on campus, but I've also advocated and pushed for voter registration drives. Here on campus, my freshman year of campus, I registered over 200 people by myself to vote. Not in these elections, but I registered. I was out canvassing and speaking to people, registering to vote, giving them a voice, giving them the power to change whatever they want, right? And I'm going to continue to do that here as your president and as your executive president of ASI, right? I have a lot of goals and I have a lot of things that I want to go by. I go by student representation, unity, and action. I believe that I'm the best fit to represent your students because I don't feel above the student experience, right? If you guys know me, I'm a really sociable person. I go and speak to everybody. I speak to everybody. I ask them about their day. I ask them about what do they have, how do they feel about this university, and what can we do to better their experience and enhance their quality of education here at Cal State University. So with that being said, vote for Adonis.
So here's a little bit of context. As you may be aware, there are talks for a potential tuition increase set to take place in the fall of 2018. In January, Governor Brown shared his budget plan for the 2018-2019 fiscal year. In his budget plan, he allocated $92.1 million to the CSU versus the requested $263 million. This allocation resulted in an approximate $170 million shortfall. Since this decision will be made by the time you take office, how will you as ASI president inform students if there is an increase to their tuition, or if there isn't, what will you do to ensure that a future one does not occur? Go ahead, Adonis.
So to start off, like again, I mentioned, I was part of BMOC when I was in high school, and part of that, my mentors, he's currently assembly member for the 54th district, which represents the Coachella Valley and part of Blythe, right? So to answer your question to how would we inform the students about this tuition increase, I see that ASI now is doing a great job with this campaign that they're running, which is stoptheincrease.org, and you know, I personally already registered myself, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys in this room have already, right? So, you know, keep going with those type of campaigns that inform the students, right? And like I said, using my connections that I already have from the outside world, from outside of CSUSB, right? I've connected with Eloise Reyes, Congressman Raul Ruiz, Assembly Member Eduardo Garcia, and a lot many more that I have connections to and easy access to. My brother is currently now a trustee. He's a trustee for the Coachella Valley Unified School District, right? So I can use all those influences to help me better and help us better this whole tuition increase.
Go ahead, AJ.
Okay, well, on this pressing issue, I do understand what's going on with the whole tuition increase. The biggest thing I think we could do is inform our students the way we have been doing through ASI. Our students' voice is huge. I have been working with Raul Ruiz as well as P. Aguilar. He's the biggest, big first district in San Bernardino. Big impact on it. I know the biggest thing we can do is have more petitions, show that the student voice is heard. It's something that I know is going to be pressing all of us. If we do have the tuition increase, make sure that we don't let that happen again by going ahead and handle those petitions, showing how much it does hurt us and that it does affect us. Some families can't even afford the tuition here. So by going ahead and working with the students, working with our representatives that we locally have, I think it'll be the best thing for us as a whole. And
go ahead, Melissa.
Okay. So I actually had the honor of designing the Stop the Increase campaign with my mom, and actually going to Sacramento to advocate against the tuition increase and meeting with all 13 legislators that represent our campus. So to continue to inform students if this increase does go through, hopefully it doesn't, we need to be having those one-on-one conversations with students, letting them know what scholarships are available for any time that they're having hardships if this increase goes through. And then continue to advocate. So I'm actually had the opportunity to go with the ASI president and my vice chair lobby for up in May to do one last push in Sacramento against this tuition increase. And then in the next year, we really need to make sure we're keeping our lobby corps team strong, because they really are having those one-on-one conversations with the legislative office, which is who decides whether or not the CSU gets the money. Yeah, the governor gets to propose how much we're going to get at the beginning of the year, but it's really the House and the Assembly, or the Senate and the Assembly, they get to decide whether or not we get that funding.
Go ahead, Prince.
Thank you very much for that question. So one thing that I will say, affordability is a huge reason why we have a lot of students at this university. Myself, for example, I don't know what I would be doing with my life if I never moved to the U.S. and have Cal State San Bernardino be available for me to get a high-class education and also grow and develop as a man. So with that being said, as ASI, like we've already been doing and are going to do, hopefully if we do win the election, we'll be using our access to administration for the direct benefit of all of our students. It's really important that our administration understands that a tuition increase for our students is not anything that, and I don't think any student would agree with. So and then also going outside of the box and using outside of the box thinking to come up with ideas that will ensure that students understand what tuition increase does and what it potentially could do if it does. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next question. So this was asked to our vice presidents. There's a saying, diversity is being invited to the party while inclusion is being invited to dance. When reflecting on that message, how would you, if at all, ensure that students from all backgrounds and ethnicities are included in the campus culture here at CSUSB? We'll start with Prince.
Well, diversity is very important to me. this year just so happens to mark the 50th anniversary of MLK's assassination. So, and that's something that he fought for and I truly believe in. So with that being said, there are some things that on this campus, for example, African American population is not a lot. We have a very small minority population. So things like the task force on African American student admission and retention, those are stuff that I was proud to be a part of, and also bringing in the different communities on our campus. The retention of DACA was a huge problem for everyone. And so things like that, bringing in student athletes, showing them support, our international students, tuition increase affecting them more than even the regular student. Bringing in our graduate students, making sure that there's a pipeline between undergraduate and graduate studies, because that's another thing. Our students get ready to graduate and don't know what's next. They don't know that there are resources such as, thank you.
Great. Melissa?
So I touched a bit about this in my introduction speech, but I definitely want to work on including the student voice more into ASI if elected. So creating a committee that's like a club advisory board for ASI that has representatives from different clubs and organizations. We have 150 student clubs and organizations on campus, 150 student presidents that have a voice that speak on behalf of their clubs. We also have our student athletes, we have our graduate students, we have our resource centers, and they all deserve a voice as well. Definitely making sure that our executives go out and sit in a union, that they actually go and have one-on-one conversations with students in an environment that the student feels comfortable in talking and they feel that they're in control of the conversation. And definitely with the resource centers, going and meeting with them, going and sitting with them in their center and talking with them. They have an amazing insight on what their student populations are facing on our campus and what they're facing statewide and nationally as well. So talking with them and bringing that back to ASI for policy and to take back to the state capitol and the federal capitol.
AJ, go ahead.
With this issue, I feel that Cal State is a very strong proponent for this. I feel that just looking at our ASI president, she's a girl as well. We have a lot of diversity throughout this entire campus. The leaders of all the boards, everyone that we have, I feel like it's a big thing. With the one thing I want to change, I do want to make sure that we have more with our multicultural fraternities and sororities. I feel like we should include them more, as well as our student athletes. I went to the Student Athlete Association Council within this past month, and they told me that the first rally they're ever going to have was about a month ago. And some seniors haven't even experienced that. I think we need to make sure our student athletes are more involved, as well as the multiculturals, and just being able to expand that as much as we can throughout ASI, increase the transparency with our students, ASI, and student athletes. I think it's
Yeah, so to touch back on that question, I really like what one of the VP candidates said earlier, and that's something that I hadn't really thought about beforehand, right, was creating a committee, and like Melissa said as well, creating a committee and inviting different people from different backgrounds, from different ethnicities, right, to the table, and making sure that we have events set up for these backgrounds, for these ethnicities, right? But not only it goes out, it only goes by putting up events, but also working with the VP of Finance to making sure that we have funds for these kind of events, right? That we budget some cap funding that require students and club organizations to work together and to collaborate. That we have policies that in order to give money, that these events we have to require that different clubs on campus, or I mean different, I lost the word, like the CCC that we have, the Pan-African Center, that we have the Latinx Center, that we have all these centers working together, right, in order to promote these events, right? So not only just bringing up the idea of having events, but also having a legislation that would allow people to have these events.
I'm going to throw this one at a couple of candidates, and I'll go ahead and start with AJ and Prince. So the current 4-year graduation rate is 14%, and 6-year graduation rate is 54%. As a graduation initiative, what should ASI do to encourage students to graduate in 4 years? We'll go ahead and start with AJ.
The biggest thing I think we should do is increase the 4-year pledge. The 15 units, I think that should be something that all students do. I know a lot of students think, oh, I'm going to get lazy, I'm just going to do 12 units. It does increase more motivation for you. It does make it longer. It takes more time to go out and start your career. I think the 4-year pledge is something we should go ahead and put more funding into. Make sure that we expand that out even more. Make sure that the 15 units is a thing that's embedded into our students throughout SOAR, throughout when they get here, priority first step, everything. Make sure they go ahead and if it cleans what we need to do to go ahead and graduate, start my career. Make it known that all student leadership, even throughout the fraternities, sororities, all leadership and student athletes, multicultural, that they all go ahead and promote that and have that be a biggest thing in campus right now.
So let me follow up with you real quick. So if a student is taking 16 units, but they still can't get the classes that they need, so they're doing everything they can, what would you do as ASI president to ensure that that student graduates?
That's the biggest thing that that was one of my main points, is going ahead and offering more major classes throughout the day, throughout the quarters. One of the biggest things that I heard from some students, the biology majors, were even telling me they can't get any classes and they have to stay an extra 2 quarters because they can't go ahead and graduate because they can't get the classes they need throughout the times that they have. Some people, one of the biggest things was also, I spoke to this one lady, she had a daughter, and she was saying that she has to go to school at night because she doesn't have any classes, just stay an extra 2 years almost. So that's one of the biggest things I want to go ahead and change, more major classes.
Prince?
With that, I would respectfully, I agree with some of the things AJ said, but I will respectfully disagree with a few points. One being, no student should have to graduate in 4 years because this university wants to increase the graduation rate. I feel like, your education, it's your own journey. You will complete it at your own time whenever you get ready to be there. So for growth and development, whether it takes you 4 years, whether it takes you 6 years or 7 years, as long as you graduate, that's the most important part. At the end of the day, there's no rush to greatness. The best is always yet to come. So I do believe that, and plus there are hindrances to a 4-year graduation. Yes, they should offer more classes, but they don't. And so these are issues that we need to discuss. Talking to administration, I was a biology major for 4 years, couldn't get Bio 200 for my first 2. And so with that, guess what happens? Your year is pushed back a year, and then that graduation rate is quicker.
So let me ask you this, Prince. So you said that it's every student's journey, right? One of the biggest things that we're pushing right now is 4-year graduation rates, right? Biggest issue has to do with funding, and a lot of individual students can't afford to stay more than 4 years. So I think, are you saying that it's okay to graduate in 5 and 6 years, 7 years?
Yes, I do believe that it's okay to graduate in 5 and 6 years. If the graduation rates need to be increased, then those classes need to be provided so they can graduate. I know a few students who have that problem, and even international students who come to this school to take those classes, but their classes end up not being offered. So for issues like that, if they do need to extend time, then I believe that that's what should be done.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. This one's from Melissa and Adonis. So about 10% of students in the CSU experience homelessness, and another 23% of students worry about hunger. And this is from a CSU study. What steps, if any, would you take to combat this issue as ASI president?
So actually, the CSU statistics are a lot higher than that. 10% of our students here on campus actually have experienced homelessness in the last year. But almost 55% of our students on this campus have experienced either very low or low food insecurity. And so one, we need to look at our campus practices. We have the den, we need to make that more available to students. We also have, we're looking at meal swipes, seeing if we can't get your meal dollars to roll over, can you donate them to another student that needs them? But it's also looking at what is our state government doing to help us with food and housing insecurity. There's a couple of bills out there. There's one bill that's being proposed that gives Cal Grant applicants the ability to have their meal plan paid for by the state. And so definitely we need to continue to push on the state side as well, because the state has the funding, we just need to get it into our system.
So to touch base on that, I think that we have programs that are really helpful for our students, right? I didn't know about these programs, about a program that we have that we could get food stamps, right? And that's something that we should work on. We should work on, making our students aware of these programs that are here, and making people feel comfortable to come and reach out, right? We do have the den, and the den is really helpful in a sense where it provides snacks and meals, right? And we only have it open a few days a week, so working to have the den open more days a week, working with outside communities to donate more to the den, because we already have programs to that help this food insecurity. So now it's how are we going to make these programs stronger? How are we going to make people more aware of these programs? How are we going to make students, use these programs, use these resources that are available for them? Because again, that's free money, that's free food, that's there, that goes unused. So if we start advocating for more and more programs, but we don't let the students know about these programs, it's going to be the same thing as it is now, that they're going to go unused, right? So I think it starts off with creating awareness and letting them know about the programs that we already have.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So now let's hear from the student body. Do you all have any questions? And I just want to kind of emphasize that if you do ask a question, it has to be not to one specific candidate, but it's got to be general, a question that all candidates are able to answer. And candidates, I'll probably have a couple of you answer, but we'll try to get as many questions as we can, but not all of you will answer. So, Janet.
So you guys all said about bringing representation to like the community clubs and all. But what about those students that aren't in a club or in the Greek community? How are you guys going to represent them?
Prince.
I definitely, thank you for asking your question, and thank you for being here today. Well, the idea is to represent other students who are not a part of the Greek community and everything. And this is why on our board, we have the student at large. So I'm gonna talk from experience in my past year as ASI Vice President. So on our board, we do have at large members that we do work with. And so they're in charge of reaching out to the different students that are not represented on the board. So whether it be veteran students, or commuter students rather, we do have a commuter students committee that I do happen to serve on. So sending out more information to students that are not always on campus and stuff. We continually reach out to our students through email, as the ASI president does reach out to every student on campus. And then also like promotion of there are programs on campus that are for students and they don't. Thank you.
Melissa?
We are 91% commuter here. I think the difficulty is getting commuter students to engage on campus. And sometimes that means we have to go to them. We have to go to the large lecture halls. We have to go to the smaller classes, talking to them, having those one-on-one conversations, and seeing what's brought up in those classrooms, and having these genuine conversations to see what concerns, because they're not involved on campus. I was one of those, I was a commuter student, I'm still a commuter student, but I wasn't involved in the Greek community. For the first 2 years of my undergraduate career, I was involved in the university honors program and the ASI, and that was it. So I know from experience what it takes to go and talk to those students. You have to go to them, they're not going to come to us.
We're going to get another question from the student body, and then we'll have our other friends.
Check. Yeah. Hello, everyone. So I'm one of those cases that Prince mentioned that came from different place to receive a higher education here, but suddenly the system's failing them. I need 6 classes to graduate myself, and I only could get 2 because they are not offered this spring. I felt like giving up everything I worked for these 4 years, and I felt alone for the first time. I didn't receive response from my dean because he didn't show up to my forum. I didn't get response until I went to ASI board of directors because I got invited and told them my situation. If you're all 4 out there and you're really said that you want to represent us, how you, especially, how are you gonna feel, how you're gonna make sure that people like me are really represented, that give up everything to be here and suddenly, like, you're not there anymore, you just become politicians during all year.
Adonis?
So, like, first of all, you mentioned that your dean did not show up to your meeting, right? So, first of all, is holding those people accountable for those kind of actions, for putting you in that situation, because at the end of the day, he was responsible for you not being able to graduate in time, right? So, it goes back to holding people accountable, and now, strategizing. How are we going to get you to graduate in time? If the class isn't offered at this time, there's really not much we can do. But we gotta work, you know, on getting you, if the class is overfilled, we gotta work, you know, on getting you into that class, you know, and if it really has to do with your graduation, there has to be some way or some loophole to get you into that class. And, you know, I don't really know much on what the process is, but I will stand right next to you and I will hold your hand, we'll hold hands, man, and we'll get you there together. We'll get you in that class together, bro.
Agent?
Also, this is basically what I was touching on earlier. This is my kind of back to Prince. I can see that seeing that you're not graduating 4 years is a big stress on you. That's the one thing I want to change again with the 4-year pledge, but offering more major classes. It's basically I want to get more funding into that. I want to make sure people like you are represented, and we show that we do care about you and that we want to get you those classes so you can graduate on time. I can tell how much of a stress it is on you, and I'm sorry for that. But if I was to be an ASI president, I'd make sure you get those classes that we have for not just your major, but for all majors. If they're represented, they feel like they can go ahead and graduate in 4 years, and it shouldn't be a struggle. They can go to school, not worry about the cost, and go ahead and be successful, and go ahead and go on with their life, and not have to worry about this. Not getting the classes.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and move on to another student question. And this next one's going to be Prince.
I know with the tuition increase, you said like you're going to find scholarships for students and more funding opportunities. But we international students pay like 3 times more than every student. It's like almost like $8,000 for every quarter, which is a lot. So how are you going to ensure that international students would get scholarships and funding? Because we don't receive financial aid or federal aid, so we don't have any types of scholarships other than the graduate initiative.
Thank you for that question. Okay, so with that being said, since there is no such scholarship, this is where we work towards the creation of a scholarship like that. And then we make it where the requirements to be, you know, meet a certain GPA requirement, or because it is very important that it's kind of another incentive to go to school. I do agree with you on the idea that international students do pay a lot more, and it's not fair to them that, you know, all other students who go here and they're able to afford it and it's affordable for them, but international students got to pay more, so, and even have to live in housing. So even if it's a scholarship tailored towards their housing, some kind of program that ensures that they get some kind of meal plan or something, that's something that, those are all ideas that are open to me as if elected as ASI president. Thank you.
Anybody else? Melissa?
It definitely takes the communication with the international student, seeing what you're experiencing, and then taking that back to administration to see what we can do. But it also takes going out into the community and creating community partnerships to bring more scholarships onto campus for our international students, for your housing, for your textbooks, for your schooling, so that you do have that support on our campus.
We'll go ahead and move on to another question.
Hey guys, as a resident of campus housing, and I heard you guys speak earlier on the 10% of students being homeless. As a resident of campus housing, and I know for a fact that we're not at capacity in any of our buildings, how could that be a stipend or a referral towards students that need help? As a student, I've never been homeless myself, but I can only imagine what that kind of hardship can do to a student emotionally, physically, and educationally. What can we do as a campus or as a university to shelter those students that are in need?
Melissa?
It's definitely, it all goes back to communication and transparency. We have services on campus for our students that are homeless. We have emergency housing where we connect you with housing on campus and then with our housing advisors so that they can talk to you, see what your finances are, and see if we can find you housing out in the community for you to continue to live there. I've talked to students that have lived out of their cars for a quarter, and that's nothing a student should experience. We have students that, because housing is only fall, winter, spring, that they're homeless during the summer. So we need to see what we can do to allow our students to stay on campus over the summer too, so that they're not living out of their cars for those 3 months, especially the hottest months of the year.
Onyx?
So first of all, to answer your question, and I can relate to those students because a quarter, actually of my second year, I was for the most part, you know, bouncing from couch to couch, and I had all of the stuff in my car, you know, and I didn't really know much about the the services that were provided by the school. So, you know, like she mentioned that we have emergency housing, right? That's something that I wasn't aware of, right? So again, it starts with creating awareness and making our students aware of these services, right? And making sure that these services are being used. We need to promote the use of resources and the use of services because, like I said, a lot of these services go unused, right? They end up extending applications on conferences because, again, nobody applies to those. It's, again, you know, let's unite and bring everybody together to the table. Let's invite people and stuff. So, again, it starts with creating awareness.
Are there any other questions from students? We'll do a couple more.
Hi, so you guys have spoken like passionate about the campus security. How can you assure students that it's actually going to happen?
Prince?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We'll get you a mic right now.
Oh, no, it's on. It's okay. Well, to answer your question, well, I'm gonna speak from experience once again. Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna speak from experience once more. So these talks are actually already in the works. We've already met with UPD and the administration and everything to ensure that our students are safe and secure. There was a CSUSB active shooter video that was released. I personally took it to my classrooms and made sure that my professor played it in class. I really felt like it was very important. Our doors never had locks on it from the inside, so the events of January 10th actually made us realize we could have locked our doors even if we wanted to. So there's actually a door committee being made, and they're going through the campus to see how many doors are there and how many doors are going to get, and all of them will get locks on them from the inside. And just training our professors and our faculty, including our professors and even staff, to ensure that we're all safe. I just want to thank everyone. I just want to thank the people that were there to help us as students when the events happened.
AJ, go ahead.
To piggyback off of what Prince said, I want to also make sure that we have more lights on campus. It's a very dark campus, including all the locked doors. It was a big thing when I was here locked in my classroom. It wasn't able to get out. It wasn't even locked. That was the biggest thing. One of the main things that a lot of students were very upset about. I want to make sure to change that. Work with UPD. Make sure that our professors know what to do, and have emergency exit plans for each classroom to go ahead and make sure that every single person feels like they're safe in this campus.
We'll do one more student question and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Is there any other student that wants to ask any question?
Hi, sorry about that. Hi, my name is Bill, and one of my biggest concerns, I'm sure a lot of students in the student population like believe this. How are you as ASI president going to become a mediator or ambassador between us and the Cal State system, between President Morales and the others who dictate everything that it does with us, our tuition, our way of life? Because that's my main concern. I feel there's a big gap between us and the people who create our lifestyle.
So you all raise your hands. I'm going to give you all 30 seconds, and I'm going to start with Melissa.
Oh, okay.
Get
So,
30 seconds.
I hate this term mediator. I'm here as your representative. I'm here as your voice. So it's taking your concerns to campus, and if they don't want to hear them, it's continue to knock on that door until they hear your concerns. Everything that you want and need from this campus to feel safe, to feel supported, to feel like you can get out of here with your degree and continue to pursue your
Prince?
Okay, so for mine, an issue as simple as not being able to take a class because it like went away. Everybody registered so quick. What happened was our ASI president actually emailed the provost and had her open more classrooms. And that is something that's out of the box thinking. We know these people, we have access to them. So it's using our resources and actually using our access to make sure that they hear what our students are saying and frequently meeting with them. And thank you.
AJ.
To answer your question about voicing your concerns, that's why I'm going to go ahead and have more open forums throughout more of the days to know exactly what you need. I'm gonna be in charge of all the boards. Go ahead and take your voice and send it to all the boards so you go ahead and know exactly what's going on. Have more open major classes as well, and go ahead and voice your opinions on tuition, make sure that doesn't increase. Anything else that you guys go ahead and want me to go ahead and change, I'm your voice, I'm working for you. So whatever you want, whatever you need, I'm gonna make sure that I go and change that as ASI.
Hello.
Okay, so so if you guys know me, like again, I would host open forums, but I would be there out there myself on my free time. You know, again, if you guys know me, I'm here on campus. I work at the information desk at the student union, and a lot of the times people come and talk to me and complain to me about issues that they're facing, right? So I would take the time to speak on those issues, to talk to those people, clock out after work and go around the lobby and network with people. And again, you know, once in the position of ASI, you're automatically connected to these kind of people. You're automatically connected to the president. You're automatically connected to everyone else, right? So using your resources and using your power to make that change.
Thank you all. So kind of as a information point. So when you're actually looking for classes, don't just always look for the ones available. Look at the ones that are not available and try to apply for those classes. Try to get into those classes, and if not, let us know. Because a lot of times, you know, professors are looking for students who fill those seats. All right, is there something I'm missing? Or
so when you go to apply for your classes, the way they tell which classes are needed is they run data based off of the classes that you tried getting into that you couldn't get into. So don't only search for the classes that are available, but search for all classes, so that when you go to try to register for those classes, that actually counts as a tick, so they know what time those classes they want those classes to be on.
Great. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to ask you one quick question, and then we'll go ahead and move to your final comments. So as ASI president, and this is just a simple 2-second answer, if you are elected into office, what type of leadership do you think would serve the students best? Working from your office and getting things done there, or being outside with the students? And we'll go ahead with Angel. And this is like a 2-second, so pick either the other.
I think it's both. I'm gonna say.
It's both. You can't just be in the office. You got to go out there and see what students need.
I'm going to slightly disagree. It's definitely going outside and talking with you all.
Again, I agree with Melissa. I think it's definitely going outside and talking to you all, but making sure that you're working effectively in the office.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and do closings. You all have 1 minute to kind of close it off, and we'll start with other ones.
So again, I stand for student representation, unity, and action. I believe that I'm best fit for student representation, just because we do have a majority Hispanic serving Latino, but I've worked for minorities. We are a minority school, so you know, I'm an advocate for minority rights, educational rights, immigration rights, and again, unity. I believe that we need to unite this campus, work together with different departments, make sure that other clubs and orgs are included in the conversation, and action. I think that we need a person of action. I've done walkouts before. I've done all the groundwork necessary for this position. Thank you.
You all already know what I stand for. I want to tell you why I chose to run. I absolutely love this campus. I had people trying to get me to run for a statewide board position, but I couldn't, because no matter what, I'm always going to hold CSUSB above the CSU system, because I love each and every one of our 20,000 students. I want to hear your experience. I want to hear, you all have such individual experiences, individual voices, and unique personalities. And I want to talk to every single one of you. And I want to make sure that we're supporting you so that you can continue to achieve your dreams. This is your campus, your voice. We need to act on it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Prince once again. Prince Ogidi, hard last name, I know. But overall, my reason for being here today, like I said, I've grown up here at this campus. And so I've gotten to see different kinds of students, and I know that there's not just one linear way to solving problems that we have as students. It's actually multilateral. We have to think about the ever-changing times and how to incorporate innovativeness into not leading, but serving our students. I want to be able to make sure that I can talk to students and be comfortable with them. You don't have to come talk to me. I'll come talk to you. I'm that comfortable with students. And so that's one thing that I bring to the table, and I'm very adaptable. And anything I put my hands in, I ask a lot of questions for a reason, because I'm trying to learn and grow, not just as a student, but also as a man and future leader someday. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be here. Just in closing, I want to say that I do want to be your voice. I want to make sure that you guys are represented. I feel like we need to finally give you all a voice, have you know exactly who I am, have you know exactly what we're doing for you guys. I'm a strong proponent for opening major classes, work with increased transparency with the students, student athletes, as well as other communities on campus. I want to get everyone involved. These things I want to change as well as make sure that these communities get engaged in class, get engaged in school, make sure that they go and take leadership classes. We have more clubs and organizations open up. We have 150, but we can have more. Have more leaders on campus as well. I want to make sure tuition costs stay low and our parking stays low and increase parking as well. So thank you very much for everything. I hope you go ahead and vote AJ Vasquez on May 2nd and 3rd for ASI president.
Fellow Coyotes, your ASI presidential candidates.